got sir 2 days attendance.
You got 2 days
Two
attendance?
days at 2 days. Sir,
Hmm.
say in my iCloud they are showing that you did only 2 classes and I got attendance for one. Like 50% attendance for 2 classes.
Mhm. Have you checked in Chrome also? Chrome browser? Attendance in the Chrome?
No, sir, I'll check in the group. So wait, sir, I'll check it now on this.
Check in the Chrome also. Maybe that app has some technical issues. That there is
उसमें
some issues
उसमें
with the app.
सही आ रहा है भाई, अमन एक बार चेक करो.
Yeah. Okay, students. So anyway, so good morning and let us start the class. As you know, the subject is anatomy and physiology, and the subject code is BMLS 2004. And in the last class, we are in the unit one actually. In the unit one, we have cell organelles, cell functions, mitosis, meiosis. Then we have different types of tissues. There we discussed about the epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscular tissue, and we also discussed about the nervous tissue. Then the last and final topic in unit one is blood composition and functions. So coming to the blood and blood, its composition and its functions. So I'm going directly to this particular topic. So as you already know that if you see the composition of blood, it has two parts. It has the fluid part and it has the cellular part. In the cellular part of the blood, we have three types of cells. Particularly, we have platelets, red blood cells, and the white blood cells. So platelets are also called as the thrombocytes. Red blood cells are also called as erythrocytes, and white blood cells are called as leukocytes. So here we have five types of white blood cells. We have the lymphocytes, basophils, eosinophils, monocytes, and neutrophils. Then coming to the plasma. So in the plasma, Now let us discuss about the composition of the plasma. So this is the composition of plasma. In the plasma, 93% of plasma is water only. Okay, and only 88% of plasma is solids, and other is gases. So solids we have two types: organic substances and inorganic substances. Organic, we have plasma proteins, carbohydrates, amino acids, fats, internal secretions, enzymes, and non-protein nitrogenous compounds. Whereas inorganic, we have the following. So kindly go through this table, students. I will come back within 2 minutes. Okay, I will return back to lecture within 2 minutes. Just go through this table once. Just try to
Okay, sir.
understand this table. Okay. So please, little busy. Okay, 2 minutes. Okay, please. Hmm.
Okay, sir.
Uh, okay, so thank you for your patience, students. Seriously, I'm sorry for this. I know uh, I'm wasting your valuable time. Anyway, so coming to the composition, can everyone hear me, students? Can everyone hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, so there won't be any stops here after we can finish the topic. Okay. So okay. So coming to the composition, students, very simple. Okay. So blood has organic, it has 93% water. Okay, the plasma portion of blood has 93% water and 8% organic solids. In these solids, we have two types: organic and inorganic. So organic substances means very simple. The molecules, the biomolecules which will have the carbon as a backbone. The molecules that will have carbon as a backbone, such molecules are called as organic substances. Here we have many types of organic substances, like we have proteins. Okay, those proteins are called plasma proteins. Then plasma proteins, we have albumin, globulins, and fibrinogen. So albumin is very important for transport of drugs, actually. Transport of drugs and bilirubin, many chemicals will be transported extensively by albumin. Okay, that is the major function of albumin. Then globulins. Globulins means, I hope you know what are antibodies. So all antibodies are immunoglobulins, and all antibodies are made up of globulins, and those globulins present in the plasma. And another protein is fibrinogen. So fibrinogen is very important for clotting the blood. So these are the three important plasma proteins present in the plasma of the blood. Then coming to the amino acids are the building molecules for proteins. So without proteins can be only constructed. Proteins can only be synthesized with the help of amino acids. So here we have two types of amino acids. As you already know, we have essential amino acids and we have non-essential amino acids. Then third one, carbohydrates, which is the glucose. So glucose we have. Then fats. Fats are three types. We have triglycerides, cholesterol, and phospholipids. Then hormones are present. Enzymes are present. Enzymes such as amylase, acid phosphatase, alkaline phosphatase, esterase, protease. These are the enzymes that are present in the plasma of the blood. Then we have non-protein nitrogenous substances such as ammonia, creatinine, xanthan, hypoxanthine, urea, uric acid. So these are the non-protein nitrogenous compounds, which are basically byproducts of either proteins or nucleic acids. So they are the metabolic pathway byproducts. So after metabolism of proteins or nucleic acids, these non-protein nitrogenous substances will be released, and they are also present in the plasma. And last and finally is antibodies. Then coming to the inorganic substances, here you can write periodic table, students. Inorganic substances means these are the elements. You can write sodium, potassium, magnesium, chloride, phosphate, iron, zinc. Even we have a trace amount of lithium also present in our body. So you can write a few examples of inorganic substances. So this is the composition of the blood. Okay. So after this, so this is all about the composition. So next we have the blood cells. So blood cells we will discuss later. Okay. This you already know. Actually, blood cells you already know. So we have red blood cells, white blood cells, and the thrombocytes. White blood cells we know that never let the monkey eat banana. Neutrophils, lymphocytes. Then we have the monocytes, eosinophils, and basophils. Okay. So they are the white blood cells present in the blood. Then there is normal values. These values you need not to memorize for first year alone. Okay, in coming classes, in the future classes, you need to memorize, but right now you need not to struggle on memorizing all these normal values. So just know the classification, just know the composition. That is fine for me. You need not to memorize the normal values. Normal values we can do later. Okay, so this is all about the blood cells. Then this is very important topic. Even though it looks small, but this is very important. This is something called the difference between the plasma and serum. So how many of you know the variation between the plasma and serum? Can anyone say what is plasma and what is serum? Do you have any idea, students, regarding this?
Plasma,
So
fibrinogen, and
the
serum.
plasma have
fibrinogen.
anti-clotting factor, fibrinogen.
Very good, very good. Whereas serum, fibrinogen is absent. Okay.
Yes.
If I want to obtain plasma, whether I need to add anticoagulant or not? Shall I add anticoagulant to obtain plasma?
Yes, sir. वरना clot हो जाएगा. Fibrinogen
Yes,
होता है
sir.
उसमें.
Yes. To obtain to obtain plasma, I must add anticoagulant. Then only I will get plasma. If I'm not adding anticoagulant, if the blood clotted means, then the supernatant will be serum. Okay. So serum won't have the fibrinogen, whereas the plasma will have fibrinogen. So that is the major difference between plasma and serum. Okay, so I hope you already know. Or very simply, students, if you take a blood in a test tube and if you are adding anticoagulant, then you will get plasma. If you are not adding anticoagulant and if you let the blood to clot, then you will get serum. That's it. That is the major difference between plasma and serum. So this is all about plasma and serum. Next is functions of blood. So before I'm telling functions, can anyone guess the functions of blood? Can anyone give some examples of functions of blood? So try to tell me, students, few examples of blood functions.
Sir, transport
Sir,
of gases, nutrients.
Yes,
Yes.
sir. Maintenance balance.
Very
Where
good.
it regulates the
Oh my God. So I'm getting many answers. So let us go one by one. Okay. So first one, someone said transport. So blood is the major medium where everything is transported to the organs and from the organs. Okay. So transport function is there. Transport, like blood will transport hormones, nutrients, electrolytes, everything. Even, yes. So the blood will be act as a transport function. Any other functions other than transport? Second function.
Sir, regulates temperature.
Agglutination.
maintains the body temperature.
Maintenance of body temperature. Very good. So blood will act like a a coolant or heatant. Okay. Blood will act like a radiator. It will evenly distribute the heat in the body. So blood will maintain the body temperature. Very good answer. So blood also plays an important role in maintaining body temperature. Then third function. Any other functions? Maintaining body temperature.
Transport the nutrients.
Transport of nutrition we already discussed. Complete transport function. That is we already know. Okay, maybe we can write nutrition. Blood will have all the nutrients that we require. So nutrition function. Okay, I'm agreeing. Blood has all nutrients for the growth. So okay, nutritive function. Next. When we say nutritive, after eating something, whether we will excrete or not, whether we will produce byproducts or not. And those byproducts, who will carry? Who will carry the metabolic waste products? Blood only. Then excretory function also there for blood, because it is carrying the waste products also. Metabolic waste products will be transported by the blood. So excretory function also excretory function also there for blood. Then any other functions?
Helping clotting.
Clotting. Very good. There is a term for it. Blood will try to maintain the body's hemostasis. So hemostasis means whenever there is a cut, the blood, the bleeding will be stopped by itself, and that phenomenon is called hemostasis, and that property is there for blood. Very good. And that is called as a clotting function. Okay, blood clotting function is there. Very good. Any other functions of blood? Other than these five?
So
Any other?
carries the antibodies. So carries the antibodies.
Okay, protective function. Okay, so you can say protective function. So blood has all the white blood cells, antibodies, everything, and the blood will try to kill the pathogen. So blood is also like a protective function is there for blood because of presence of white blood cells and the antibodies. So protective function, agreeing with you. Very good. Any other functions? So far we got 6 points actually. So you are doing very good. Other than protective function, any others? Someone
hormones transport.
Hormones.
Carrying hormones, sir.
Carrying hormones. Okay. Very good. Fine. Okay. It will maintain the body's internal environment by hormones. Okay. Maintaining body's internal environment. Very good. Next. Any other functions? Any new functions? You know, I was expecting some out of the box thinking from you. Any interesting answers of functions of blood? Let me try
Sir,
myself.
it helps the skin not to shrink.
It helps. It helps.
सर
Yes.
स्किन को shrink होने के लिए रोकता है मतलब.
Okay, it helps the skin not to shrink. Okay, so that means blood will try to maintain pressure in the body. So the skin won't shrink.
Yes.
That means it is trying to maintain pressure. Very good. Actually, yes, without blood, we can't maintain pressure. It is because of that movement of blood only, we have that even pressure in our body. So very good. Very nice answer. Yes, even blood, body's pressure, the internal blood, without blood, we can't say, you know, I can't escape without saying that word blood. So blood pressure is obviously maintained because of blood. So maintaining of pressure in the body was mediated with blood. So very good. Maintaining the pressure blood pressure is very good. Any other examples or any other functions of blood? Any other? Okay, so I was satisfied anyway. Nice answers by everyone. So now let us see what the textbook saying. What are the functions that the textbook has? Okay, so first is a nutritive function. Okay, so the blood has all the types of nutrients that we require. Okay, so like such as amino acids, lipids, glucose, everything is there. So nutritive function is there. My God, you didn't say this function, students. Respiratory function. How respiratory function by blood? Can anyone guess? How blood will act as a respiratory function? Can you guess?
Sir, the oxygen
Very
and the carbon
blood
dioxide
carries-
transport while breathing.
Blood carries
Very good.
oxygen.
Yes. So very good. Even respiratory function was mediated by blood. Oxygen and carbon dioxide is extensively transported by red blood cells. So respiratory function is there. Then excretory function, which we already discussed. Then we have transport of hormones and enzymes. So transport function. Then this is important. These two, I completely forgot about this. Maintenance of water balance, actually regulation of water in the body. Okay, so blood will try to keep body hydrated every time. Okay, so it will try to regulate the body's water balance. Okay, so water balance has been regulated by blood only. Okay, so sometimes I myself used to feel the the wonderful property of blood, students. You just imagine right now, just to drink 2 glasses of water, within 5 minutes you will get sweats. That means that water is absorbed into the by the intestine, and that water entered into the blood, and that excessive water, now the blood volume has been increased, and that excessive water has been successfully excreted also by your sweat glands. See, and all these things happens within a short period of time. Yes, blood plays an important role in maintaining the water balance also. Okay, it will maintain water balance in the body. So that is one function. And sixth one is maintenance of acid base balance, pH. This pH regulation is extensively done by a mechanism called bicarbonate buffer system. So there is something called bicarbonate buffers which are present in the blood. And what is the normal pH of blood? Tell me, students, what is the normal pH of blood?
7.4.
Very good. 7.4
7.4.
average. Okay, 7.32 to 7.4542, I think. Okay, 7.32 to 7.42 is the range of the blood pH. If the pH increased or decreased, definitely there will be problems in the body. And that blood pH will be precisely regulated by certain substances called buffers, and that buffers are present in the blood. Those buffers are bicarbonate buffers. Okay, and that acid base balance is also regulated by our blood only. Okay, then let me tell you one interesting thing about this acid base balance. How many of you heard this term in India? Actually, in India only we will use this word called heat substances. When they say heat substances, that doesn't mean physical heat. They will say if you eat these items, your body will generate more heat, or you will have that throat pain, or you will have that muscle pains if you eat certain food substances. Actually, in South India, they will say you don't eat heat substances, eat cold substances like coconut water or something like that. Actually, some food material will cause joint pains or some discomfort in the body, right? That discomfort occurred because of those food materials will alter the pH of the blood. If the blood either goes to alkalosis or acidosis, acidic or basic, then definitely we will feel that problem. We will feel headache, we will feel throat pain, we will feel joint pains, and all this because of dysregulation of blood pH. That is why whenever you feel any aches, better try to have a proper diet. By maintaining diet itself, we can regulate the we can reset the body's normal function. Anyway, that is all about the acid-base balance of the function of the blood. Then we have the regulation of body temperature, which we already discussed. Then storage function. Obviously, many essential and non-essential and many trace elements will be readily stored in the blood only. So rather than keeping in the liver or in the fat or in other forms, sometimes some readily available substances will be instantly stored in the blood itself. So that ready-made substances can be stored in the blood. So that is storage function. And last and finally is defensive function. defensive function or protective function, which we already discussed. So since blood has white blood cells and antibodies, obviously the blood will try to kill the pathogens. So these are the major functions of the blood. And I'm not going to read this paragraph. This you can read by yourself. So these are the major functions of blood. Okay. So now, can I move forward to the next topic, students? This is all about the functions of blood. Is this topic clear for everyone?
Sir.
We have
Yes,
nutritive
sir.
function.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Very good. Respiratory, excretory, hormones, regulation of body water balance, then acid balance, body temperature, storage, and defensive function. Very good. Fine, students. So I'm moving to the second unit, which is all about the skeletal musculoskeletal system. So I'm closing this PPT and we are going to the second unit. Okay. So yeah. So let me show you the syllabus once. I haven't prepared PowerPoint for the second unit. I will directly explain in the textbook, but still fine. Okay, don't worry. Let me go to the syllabus once. So we discussed many things actually. Great. There is a beautiful video in YouTube. I will show you that for muscles. Okay, so I hope you can see here. This is unit 2. So in the unit 2, we have 3 important systems. We have the skeletal system, respiratory system, and cardiovascular system. So first we will finish the skeletal system. Maybe this week I will try to finish musculoskeletal system. Okay. So then in the next week onwards, we can go to respiratory and cardiovascular. So in the muscular system, in the musculoskeletal system, we have introduction, classification of muscles, structure of muscle, functions of skeletal system, types of joints, and various movements of the body. So these are the major topics in the musculoskeletal system. So classification of muscles, we already finished. Will you agree with me or not? Do we discussed about classification of muscles? Have we finished classification
Yes,
of muscles or not? What are the 3 types of muscles we have in our body? Tell me.
Skeletal muscles, cardiac
Skeleton
muscles,
Cardiac muscle,
Smooth muscles.
skeletal
Okay.
muscle.
Which muscles are the slowest muscles? Very slow movement muscles. Which are the slowest movement muscles in the body? Very slow movement muscles out of these 3. Smooth muscles. Very good. Very good. Smooth muscle. Then which muscle is branched muscle?
cardiac muscles as well as
cardiac muscles.
That's it. Not as well as
Skeleton too.
Only cardiac muscle is branched. Okay. Then what muscle will have intercalated discs? Intercalated
smooth
disc.
muscle.
Bansal. Intercalated disc present in what muscles?
So cardiac muscles.
Cardiac muscle. Very good. Intercalated disc present in the cardiac muscle. Okay. Then do smooth muscles has striations? Do smooth muscles has striations?
No.
No. Very good. Smooth muscles don't have the striations. Then what are the voluntary muscles in our body? Examples of voluntary
Skeletal
muscles.
muscle. Skeletal muscle.
So skeleton muscles, biceps,
Very good.
triceps.
Yes. In the intestine, what type of muscle will present in the intestine?
Smooth muscle.
Very good. Then in the biceps?
Skeletal muscle.
Skeleton muscles.
Skeletal muscle. Very good. Then that's it, students. So you have idea about classification of 3 muscles. Very good. So now I'm moving forward to the structure of muscle. Okay. So I'm closing this PowerPoint and I will open the textbook actually. So let me close that. Okay. So the next part of this lecture is structure of muscle. Okay. For that, I must take the Shambhalingam textbook. Okay. Where is it? Okay, I'm directly sharing my screen here. My God. Okay. So yeah, muscle physiology. So the page number in the textbook is 188. Okay. So in the Shanmugam textbook, in the 188 page, we have the muscle physiology. So here we have the classification of muscle, which we already discussed. Then second one is structure of muscle. So now I will discuss about structure of muscle. Now students, listen, in the textbook, the classification was given very nicely actually. In the textbook, classification is very nice with one table. Let me show you the table once. I like Shanmugam a lot actually. Very simple and depth notes. Depth notes in a very simple way. So they will explain very nicely in this textbook actually. See this. So if possible, try to memorize this table. So they have given, see how many parameters here. So for skeletal, cardiac and smooth muscle. So if you are interested, you can read all the points. Okay. So no pressure in it. At least you need to write the points that I have given in the PowerPoint. Okay. Anyway, this is the difference. Then coming to the structure of muscle, students. It's a big deal. So structure of skeletal muscle. So before discussing about the structure of skeletal muscle, students, I need to discuss some basics. Okay, basics like first you need to know what is muscle mass. Then you must know what is muscle fiber. Then you must know what is myofibril. Then you must know sarcomere. Then we have the actin and myosin filaments. So all these are a part of structure of muscle. Let me try to simplify it. Okay. Okay, so everyone, are you listening to me, students? Can you able to see the textbook? Can you able to see my screen? Is it sharing with you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Fine.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, let me start with the structure of skeletal muscle. Okay. See students, we can discuss this topic either for 1 week lecture. We can also discuss this topic in 1 hour lecture. So I was just thinking in what way I need to deliver this topic to you. I think we are not physiotherapists to discuss in detail about the muscle. So let us have some basic idea about muscle structure. That is enough. So I'm moving with the simplest form. Okay. So I will tell you in a simpler form of this topic. So coming to the muscle, students, structure of muscle. So first you need to know what is muscle mass. Then we will discuss about muscle fiber. So very simple, students. Muscle mass means together. It's a piece of a large muscle. So together a large piece of muscle can be stated as a muscle mass. When we are saying mass, mass means it contains many things. It's a combination of many things. Okay, a combination of many things can be stated as a muscle mass. Or I can say simply, it looks somewhat, very cruel. But just imagine if I'm removing a part of my bicep, if I'm moving the muscle of my hand, or if you're eating the chicken bone, okay, that chicken leg, that beautiful, you will have that delicious upper part, right, that muscle. So together that bone with that muscle together can be stated as a muscle mass. So muscle mass will have all the associated structures to it. It will have the bone and it will have the muscle. That muscle will connect with the bone with some tendons. At the near the tendon and the bone, there will be something called aponeurosis. So together, all the parts together can be stated as a muscle mass. Now, in this muscle mass, this muscle is made up of many fibers. This muscle is made up of many thread-like structures, and those thread-like structures are called as muscle fibers. So muscle is made up of many threads. Okay. Now, each thread, if you take each thread, that thread is made up of a cell actually. Okay. And that cell is called as myocyte, muscle cell. That cell is called as myocyte. Now, when we are saying myocyte, keep in mind, students, there is a specific term for that myocyte. In fact, we have 2 types of myocytes in the muscle. Together, we will say as a myocyte. Those 2 muscle cells are called as, to be precise, they are called as actin and myosin. My God. So that muscle cell will have 2 proteins. Those 2 proteins are called actin and myosin filaments. So this is the hierarchy of the structure of muscle. First, you have the muscle mass. This muscle mass is made up of fibers. These fibers are made up of cells. Cells are called as myocytes. These cells will contain proteins called actin and myosin. Okay. So now let us discuss about the muscle mass. What are the associated structures that are present to the muscle mass? So here I will directly show you this the diagram. Okay, now listen to me, students. So this is a bone and this is the mass of a muscle, a large piece of muscle. Now this muscle is attached to the bone with a whitish structure. That structure is called as tendon. Tendon is the bridge between a bone and the muscle, or muscles are attached to the bone with the help of tendon. So this is the basic parts of muscle fiber. So you have the bone, then you have the muscle, and this muscle attached to the bone by a tendon. Now in the tendon, in the terminal portion of the tendon, where the tendon will bind to the bone, there it has a specialized structure called aponeurosis. Aponeurosis is the junction where a tendon will bind to the bone, and that structure is that particular component is called as aponeurosis. Spelling is here. So here you can see aponeurosis. So aponeurosis means it is the structure where a tendon is attached to the bone, and that thing is called as aponeurosis. Okay. Next. Yeah. So now the outer layer of muscle is called as fascia. The outer layer of muscle is called as fascia. Okay. So see here, muscle is separated by neighboring tissue by a thick fibrous tissue called fascia. Okay. So the outer layer of the muscle is called as fascia. Okay. Or I can say any two muscle fibers are separated by this fascia. Okay. Fascia is like a cover-like structure, a transparent cover-like layer on the top of muscle, and that is called fascia. Fascia is not shown in this diagram, but there is an outer layer called fascia to the muscle. Okay. After fascia, below the fascia, you will see a second layer of muscle, and that second layer is called as epimysium. So beneath this fascia, you will see the epimysium. Okay. In this epimysium, under this epimysium, you will find something called this structure. This structure has a name actually. Fascicle. Okay. Okay. 1 minute, students. There. Okay. Okay, students, listen. The outer layer is called as fascia. Then in the beneath the outer layer, it has a second layer called epimysium. Now, in after epimysium, this muscle was kept in a group of rods, in a group of threads, I can say. Okay, it is not a single thread; it is a group of threads. I can say it like a fiber. Okay, and this fiber is called as fascicle. You go fasciculi. Okay, fascicle. Fascicle means a group of fibers will make a fascicle, and a group of fascicles will make a muscle mass. Okay, a group of fibers will make a fascicle, and a group of fascicles will make a muscle mass. So now you can understand the definition of fascicle. Fascicle means a group of fibers together can be stated as a fascicle. Now this fascicle, any two fascicles are separated. Any two fascicles are separated each other by a layer of sheet called perimysium. So this fascicle was separated by a layer of sheet called perimysium. So perimysium is the sheet that will separate any two fascicles. So any two fascicles will be separated by perimysium. Under this perimysium, you will see the endomysium. Inside this endomysium, you will see a group of muscle fibers. So these muscle fibers are made up of actin and myosin filaments. So this is the structure of muscle. So I'm coming from outside to inside. You have the bone. Bone is connected to the tendon with the help of aponeurosis, and tendon is attached to the muscle mass. And the outer layer of muscle is called as fascicle. Then the second layer of muscle is called as epimysium. Under the epimysium, you will see the this one. What is this? Fascicules. Okay. So in this fascicule, a group of fascicles will make a muscle mass. Okay. So in this fascicule, the outer layer is called as perimysium. Then inner layer is called as endomysium. Under this endomysium, you will see the fibers, muscle fibers. So this is the structure of muscle. Actually, these are the new words, but the concept is simple. You have layers by layers, and you need to memorize the names of these layers. Okay, so hierarchy is like this. You have the fibers. A group of fibers will make a fasciculi, and a group of fasciculi will make a mass. And these muscle fibers are connected by an endomysium, and out on the top of endomysium you have perimysium. Then you have the this one. This is fascia, and this is called somewhat epimysium. So this you must memorize, students. I know this is boring actually. Are you listening to me, students?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, some topics will be boring, students. Yes, I can understand. Thank you. Anyway, you're listening. Anyway, so this is all about the structure of muscle mass actually. So next we will discuss in detail about the muscle fiber, students. Muscle fiber means this one, a group of muscle fibers making a fasciculi. So what is the structure of muscle fiber? So the next topic will be muscle fiber. Yes, Jyoti.
Please explain again. I got confused. So I got confused. Please explain.
Do I need to do revision?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Jyoti, simple. Okay. Yes, definitely. Imagine like this, students. Actually, last time, if this is offline class, I may take it nicely. Just a second. Let me stop sharing this one. I need 2 or 3 pens. I'm coming to the point. Wait. I hope you have written the points, everyone. I will ask questions. Get ready. I need a plaster also. Fine. Okay, listen to me. See, Jyoti. So first we have fibers. Okay. So you can feel, you can think this refill as a fiber. So now a group of fibers, a group of refills will make a fasciculi. So instead of having one refill in this tube, imagine you have some 200 refills. Okay, a group of 200 refills. These refills can be stated as a muscle fibers. Okay, so a group of muscle fibers will make a structure called fasciculi. A group of fibers will make a fasciculi. Now, a group of fascicules, these pens, a group of fascicules together, will make a muscle mass. So these 4 pens together with a with one layer, some layers like this. Okay, this will make a muscle mass. Okay, so this will make a muscle mass. Okay, now this muscle may be attached to some bone. Okay, I don't know whether I have a bone here or not. Okay, so now this muscle mass will connect to the bone with the help of a tendon. Okay, so what I'm telling is bone was connected to the muscle by a structure called, what is the name of the structure? Bone connected to the muscle by aponeurosis. Okay, after aponeurosis followed by tendon, right? Then you have tendon. Then you have the muscle fascia. Muscle mass. On what is the outer layer of this mass is called as? There is one outer layer, and what is the name of that layer name? Oh, there is one covering. Fascia. Very good. There is one outer layer. Very good. Fascia. So now I'm removing this fascia also. After removing fascia, what is the second layer?
Epimysium.
Very good. After removing this fascia, we have the second layer, which is called epimysium. After epimysium, here we have a group of fascicules, right? These are the 4 fascicules. So now a group of fascicules. Now we have 4 fascicules. Then what in this fascicule also we have an outer membrane. What is the outer membrane of fascicule name? What is the name of the outer membrane of a fascicule?
Perimysium.
Perimysium. Very good. Fascicule outer membrane is called perimysium. Then it has some another layer inside the perimysium, and that second layer is called as, the second layer of fascicule is Endomysium. Inside the endomysium, what we have? Inside the endomysium, what we have?
Muscle fiber.
Muscle fibers. Very good. And these muscle fibers are made up of proteins, two types of proteins. What are those names of those proteins?
Myosin and
Actin and myosin. So this is the structure of muscle mass actually. So you just remember refill is like a muscle fiber. A group of muscle fibers will make a fasciculi, and a group of fasciculi will make a mass, and that mass connected to the
muscle
bone.
mass.
Okay, that's it. And you just need to memorize the layer membranes. That's it. Tell me the inner membrane. After muscle fiber, what is the next membrane? After muscle fiber, what is the next membrane? Just tell me the names of membranes from inside out. After muscle fiber, what is the next membrane here?
Endomysium.
Very good. Endomysium. After endomysium, yes. After endomysium, the second layer, perimysium.
Perimysium. Perimysium.
Yes. Yeah. Perimysium. After perimysium, you have.
Endo.
Nine.
अरे एंडो तो नीचे आ गया ऊपर है.
Yes. After perimysium, you the epimysium. Then you have second one.
So endo, peri, epi ना sir.
Okay. Epimysium.
So epi then perimysium. Epi.
Let me check this diagram. Anyway, you got the point, right?
Okay, so
Yeah. Yes, endomysium, perimysium. Then you have the epimysium. Then you have the fascia. So these are the membranes you need to memorize. This is all about the muscle mass, students. I know these are new names. You must by heart. Okay. Actually, I don't like you to give by hearting stuff to you, but sometimes we must. Okay, so this is all about the structure of muscle mass. Then next we are going to the muscle fiber, students. So muscle fiber is that fiber, that single fiber. Okay, so that single fiber will be around the average length is 3 centimeters to 4 centimeters. So each muscle fiber will be 3 to 4 centimeters in length. Okay, sometimes their diameter, okay, their length is 4 centimeters, but their circumstance, their diameter is only 100 microns, 10 to 100 microns. Then you can understand how much thin they are. 10 to 100 microns means your hair is very large actually. It's in millimeters, millimicrons actually. Millimeters. Anyway, so that muscle fiber is very small, students. It is a microscopic structure. Okay, and that muscle in that muscle fiber, you have an outer membrane of that muscle fiber, like this refill. This refill has outside plastic layer, right? And that muscle fiber outer membrane is called as sarcolemma. Very important. Muscle fiber outer membrane is called as sarcolemma. Muscle fiber outer membrane is called as sarcolemma. Inside the sarcolemma, it will have the sarcoplasm and the fiber. Okay, so this is all about the muscle fiber. Now, in that fiber is also made up of tiny filaments, and those tiny filaments are called as myofibrils. In those myofibrils only you will find the actin and myosin filaments actually. So believe it or not, each fiber is made up of some 2 to 3,000 myofibrils. So each muscle fiber is made up of 2 to 3,000 myofibrils, and that is not shown in the diagram actually, because that is ultra microscopic structure. Sometimes they will say ultra microscopic structure of myofibril. There they will say the actin and myosin. Anyway, so this is the complete hierarchy of muscle. Even in that muscle fiber also, the outer membrane is called sarcolemma, and that each muscle fiber is made up of even more small fibers called myofibrils. And in that myofibrils only we will have the actin and myosin filaments. Okay, that's it. Now these are the myofibrils. In this myofibril you will find actin and myosin, or they will say you have two types of zone, students, H zone and Z zone and H zone. This one only I'm thinking. You need not to know all these things. Leave it. Leave all these things. directly we can go to the sarcomere, the electron microscopic structure of muscle. So in this electron microscope, you will find two types of protein, students: actin filament and myosin filament. If you see the structure here properly, see students, this actin filament is on the top, is in between this myosin filament. And what exactly happens is this actin filament will slide on the top of this myosin filament like this. So you can say this is actin, and bottom you have the myosin, and this myosin will slide the actin like this. Okay, I will show you one animation, students. Just a second. Let me show you an animation. I know I'm not going with the textbook material. I'm giving you some idea about the muscle. You can read by yourself. Okay, I'm not going to read whatever there. So let me show you this one. Actin and myosin. Here. Just to watch this animation, everyone. Let me keep audio also for it. So watch this animation. Please watch this animation.
You use muscles every day to do activities. This woman is using muscles to breathe, circulate blood, and move her hand to take notes. Your cardiac and smooth muscle tissues are involuntary. You do not consciously control their actions. Skeletal muscle works under voluntary control. Skeletal muscles are composed of bundles of muscle fibers. Muscle fibers are long cylindrical cells containing several nuclei. Muscles will contract or relax when they receive signals from the nervous system.
In this muscle fiber, you can see myofibrils. So these are myofibrils, and these myofibrils will have the actin and myosin. And there is a nerve that is connected to this myofibril. Whenever the nerve gives this action potential, whenever the nerve giving some signal, then the muscle fiber will get activated. And after receiving signal, what happens in the myofibril? Just check here.
A neuromuscular junction is the site of the signal exchange. This is where the synaptic bulb of an axon terminal and muscle fiber connect. Muscle fibers are composed of many myofibrils. A myofibril contains contractile units called sarcomeres. Sarcomeres run adjacent to one another down the length of the myofibril. Each sarcomere consists of alternating thick and thin protein filaments, giving skeletal muscle its striated appearance. The muscle contracts when these filaments slide past each other. The thick filaments are myosin, which are anchored at the center of the sarcomere, called the M line. The thin filaments are composed of the protein actin, which are anchored to the Z lines on the outer edges of the sarcomere.
That is the difference between M line and Z line. M line is for
which are line.
M line.
The thin filaments are composed of the protein actin, which are anchored to the Z lines on the outer edges of the sarcomere. Because the actin filaments are anchored to the Z lines, the sarcomere shortens from both sides when actin filaments slide along the myosin filaments. Although the action between the filaments is described as sliding, the myosin filament actually pulls the actin along its length. The cross bridges of the myosin filament.
Literally, this myosin protein will pull the actin fibers like this. Each and every receptor of this myosin filament will pull these actin filaments. Okay, and this some millions of myosin molecules will try to pull millions of actin fibers, and that will result in the movement of the muscle. So at microscopic level, there is a millions of actin and myosin filaments are moving, and all those result is a large movement at the outside. So you just understand the level of complexity at the microscopic world of these muscles actually. So whenever we are feeling to move something, some millions of fibers are moving, some millions of neurons has been excited, some millions of neurons are triggered the muscles to move these things. And yeah,
attach to the actin filaments and exert force on them to move.
yeah.
This action is known as the sliding filament mechanism of muscle contraction. In this model, the sarcomeres shorten without the thick or thin filaments changing in length. A contraction begins when a bound ATP is hydrolyzed to ADP and inorganic phosphate.
For each and every movement, the actin will use one ATP. So that is why we must have that ATP as a source of energy for our movement or for our day-to-day activities. So we will extensively use ATP for the movement of these filaments. So ultimately, the muscle will move together. Okay. I'm just skipping
on to it bars. In myofibrils, as actin and myosin slide along each other, the entire sarcomere shortens as the Z lines draw closer to the M line. As the sarcomeres in myofibrils contract, the entire muscle fiber will shorten. When muscle fibers contract in unison, a muscle can produce enough force to move the body, allowing you to take notes. Muscle can produce the trigger a muscle contraction. As the actin and myosin slide along each other, the entire sarcomere shortens as the Z lines draw closer to the M line. As the sarcomeres in myofibrils contract, the entire muscle fiber will shorten. When muscle fibers contract in unison, a muscle can produce enough force to move the body, allowing you to take notes.
So that is a nice animation actually. So this is all about the mechanism of muscle, students. So that is the structure and microscopic structure of muscle. So first you will study about the mass of the muscle. Okay, then you will study about the what is muscle fiber. Then you will discuss about myofibril. Myofibril is the smallest portion of the muscle, and this myofibril have the units, and this each unit is called a sarcomere. And in each sarcomere, you will find actin and myosin filaments. And this actin and myosin filaments will slide each other by using ATP. And because of those sliding, the entire muscle will be moved. So you just have some idea, and I will give you the simple notes rather than this textbook material. And you can write that for the exam. So that is all about the structure of skeletal muscle, students. I will give you simplest notes also. And in tomorrow's lecture, we can discuss about types of joints and body movements. So let it be simple. Okay. Let the structure of muscle will be simple. Okay. So if you have any doubts, you can ask me, students. You may have doubts. For that, you must go through the notes once. If you go through the notes, means you will get some idea. Obviously, the topic is somewhat tough. But if you read once, means you will get the point. Even after that, if you have struggling in understanding the concept, means I am always there for helping you. Okay. So you can ask me anytime. So I will revise the topic again and again. So thank you very much, students. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. If not, I will end this class. Can I end this class?
Yes.
I will share.
Yes, sure, sir.
Okay, I will share class notes later. So thank you very much, students. See you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, students. See you.
Can I leave, sir?